Welcome to a tactical analysis of the Head Prestige Mid. That's the 2019 version. And in this racket, I've got it strung up with Dunlop Black Widow 16. That's the 1.31mm version. And I'm going to pull up some Tennis Warehouse data. We'll have a look and see what we can expect out on court. And then I'll detail my actual on-court experience with the positives I took away from this setups and some of the negatives as well. So yeah, let's get into it. And on to the racket recommender tool, where this racket is actually known as the Head Graphene 360 Plus Prestige Mid. And we've got a shot speed here of 65.7 miles an hour, which is about medium to medium high on that scale. And we've got a frequency of 135.4 hertz, which is quite low on the vibration frequency scale. And alongside that, we've got the Dunlop Black Widow. So some stats I'm going to highlight. We've got a stiffness rating of 193.2 pounds, alongside a deflection of 31.0 millimeters, which is quite low. I would say very low actually on that scale, especially for a string with that sort of stiffness level. You wouldn't expect a deflection to be that low, but yeah. That is both the racket and the string. And yeah, let's get on to some of the positives. And I thought the main positive from this setup was the lower launch angle, allowing the user to take sharp upward cuts at the ball and generating a lot of spin in that way. So despite the racket head being quite small at 93 square inches, I didn't find that to be too much of a hindrance when attempting to put a lot of topspin on either my forehand or my backhand ground strokes. I would attribute this down to the very low deflection of the Dunlop Black Widow at 31.0 millimeters. That means that the mains barely move alongside the crosses in comparison to some of the other strings I've been testing recently. And that tends to mean that the ball leaves the string bed at a much lower angle than you would usually expect. And it sort of forces you to play with more spin than usual, as you have to use a sharper upward swing to get the ball over the net, which is pretty interesting, I thought. And alongside that, I thought the length control of this string was quite good as well. I didn't find too many of my ground strokes going long, and that just increased my confidence to hit out even more on my ground strokes. And so on to the negatives. The one that stuck out most for me was it was very difficult to serve, unfortunately. There's very little access for myself to slice, and even less access to the kick serve. So most of the time I was pretty much just rolling the serve in and getting the point started, hopefully relying on my ground strokes to pick up the majority of my points. But it doesn't really inspire confidence, as I feel better returners are going to exploit that weakness in the serve, and it may put a ceiling on how far I can go in terms of results. So yeah, very difficult to serve with. And also touch shots are very difficult to execute, as that lower deflection again makes it difficult to reverse underspin. So if a player has a good slice, it's very difficult to re-slice that ball back, as the strings don't help you in that regard. And it's also very difficult to execute drop volleys or volleys in general, as the strings, again, they're not helping you apply underspin on the ball or slice on the drop shots or drop volleys. So yeah, those were the two main negatives I took away from this setup. But overall, a pretty interesting setup nonetheless. I thought it was very specialized, and it would suit the type of player who has a fast racket head speed on their serve, so they don't suffer like I did on my serve, and someone who plays on higher bouncing courts, so you don't have to worry about players using their backhand slice, or even some players I've seen using forehand slices try to exploit the weaknesses of this setup. So yeah, it would suit players who use a lot of spin from the back of the court, who have quick racket head speed on their serves, and who play on higher bouncing surfaces to try and avoid some of the weaknesses that can get exposed on faster, lower bouncing surfaces. So yeah, that is the end of this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, it might be worth staying tuned in future for some more setup reviews. I've got a few that are coming out in future, and so hopefully I'll see you all there, and until then, everyone, take care.